Hello, darling, and welcome back to another episode of the Hello, Darling Talk Show. And we've got some pretty interesting topics for you guys today, so we're not going to waste any time. Let's jump right in. For our first topic today, we are going to explore a little bit regarding a question that I've had in the past, especially when a lot of scandals and things like that regarding celebrities come to light. And that is, why do celebrities and billionaires always get caught up in these wild, crazy sex scandals and power plays? So let's talk about it. Why is it that the richer and the more powerful that some people get, the weirder and the more strange their lives become? It's like it's not enough to have the private jet and multiple mansions and any amount of money at your fingertips whenever you want it. That's not enough. They always end up getting involved in like crazy sex parties, dungeon parties, and orgies and things that require people to sign NDAs and things like that. So, what is that all about? Why is that? I think one of the reasons is because we've seen that basically power and money equals no rules, endless options. You can do and have whatever you want. So you go from being the person at home on the couch watching the basketball games and the football games to the person that's at the football games, to the person that's sitting in the skybox with the owner and now talking to the owner about potentially owning some of the team. And it's just like you're climbing this never ending ladder. It's kind of like they're climbing this never ending ladder of success, but at some point, the success just turns into a need for power. Might even say a greed for power. And so when you have all of that power and you have everything that you want, boundaries kind of become optional for you at that point. Or do they exist at all, I guess? And I think that's when things initially become dangerous, when people realize that they don't have to have boundaries anymore. They've now reached a space where they can cross over and do and have whatever they want. No one's going to tell them no, no matter what it is that they want. That's when it starts to get really dangerous, in my opinion. It's like at some point they become numb to the glitz and the glam of it all. They become numb to the stardom. And it's almost, you see some of them sometimes where they're interacting with fans, or they're doing interviews, and it's almost like they don't even enjoy it at this point. That part of it. Of course, they enjoy what they're reaping. They're enjoying the benefits of it. But like I said, the stardom of it doesn't do anything for them anymore. And as a matter of fact, some studies have actually shown that wealth can reduce empathy. There was a Berkeley study that found that the wealthier people are, the less likely they are to consider other people's feelings or perspectives, which makes a lot of sense. When it's all about you and you can have and get whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, you become the most powerful person in your world, then you don't really have a reason, other than being an empathetic person, a good person, to care about what anyone else thinks about what it is that you're doing. And it also kind of questions the psychology of never enough, never having enough, never doing enough. Some of these people are chasing more than money, obviously. They're chasing a high. Like regular pleasure just doesn't hit the same for them anymore. So they go bigger, bolder, and oftentimes, as we see, darker. I feel like talking about this right now in this time, obviously what comes to everyone's mind is going to be Diddy and the Diddy trial that's ongoing right now, and everything that's been uncovered about him in recent years, and things that of course we may have known about and heard about, but hearing the nasty details of it just really opens up this like window into what this world is really like and how dark it actually can get. And it's clearly, especially if we're talking about Diddy specifically, it's clearly about power. And one of the things that I realized is, like, when it comes to kind of what Diddy has allegedly done and the things that we've seen him do, and especially like when it comes to people getting to a certain level in the industry and we talk about like secret rituals and things like that. For me, I've always seen that sex plays a heavy part in it, and the question that I've always had is like, why is sex such a big part in this? Like, it's because they're using it as like a domination factor, and that's just so wild to me. But we've all heard the stories about Diddy and the Diddy parties and the things people have to do to become famous and all of that, and that plays a heavy part in it, like I said. But aside from that, I've also noticed that people in these positions, and once they gain so much money and so much power, they seem to have this insatiable appetite for basically everything. It's like I said, they become numb, and regular things don't do it for them anymore. They have an insatiable appetite for dopamine. Basically, they're just constantly chasing a high that it seems like they'll never be able to reach, because one thing never seems to be enough, and it's to the point where they're going to the extreme after extreme and then the next extreme, and it's just so crazy. Like, once you get past all the yacht parties, it's like, what else can they do to feel something? That's how you end up with people talking about those types of rituals in the Hollywood Hills or on these islands where who knows what is going down. So, another fun fact, psychologists say that thrill-seeking behavior is common among high-status individuals. Like I mentioned earlier, it's related to dopamine. It's called dopamine desensitization, and it's when the usual stuff stops exciting you. You seek riskier behavior to get some sort of a feeling that raises your dopamine, that gives you that high. But it's like, once you open the door, I would assume, to start doing things that are a little more risque, and you get wilder and wilder, it has to click for you somehow that, well, I guess if you're just in it, it's like a drug. I would assume you're like a drug addict, I guess, and you just have tunnel vision. You're not thinking about consequences and things like that, because like we said earlier, consequences don't matter to you. You don't have boundaries. You have power, and that lets you do whatever you want. But my initial thought was going to be that you would think that once you see that you're going down such a dark path to simply chase dopamine or chase a high, that you would be like, hey, wait a minute, this is a little weird. I'm in the woods in a party with a mask on. Like, we've seen some of these things or heard about some of these alleged stories. And it's like, at what point do you have that wake up within yourself and you're like, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
But I guess when you're constantly chasing power and the next thing that's going to make your spidey senses tingle and perk you up, you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about what it is that you want. Your wants pretty much become your main focus, it seems like. Money, power, and your wants, which is very dangerous. It's very dangerous when I feel like when you disregard everything else in life, because there's so much more in life to consider when you're making decisions. So yeah, that's really dangerous. And like I said, we see the Diddy trial, and we hear about the Diddy parties, and how deep does this go? How many people does all of this stuff touch? Because with all the Diddy stuff coming out, we see how many people are in some way connected or have been affected. How many people were at these parties? How many people were doing things behind closed doors that they don't want to get out? It's so many of these celebrities, and it's so many of them that are not just they were at the party, but so many of them are tied to some of like the vile things that happen, the dangerous things that happen. And it's like, how far are you guys willing to go for power? How far? Like, you've got to have, I don't want to say people aren't decent, but I feel like as a decent person with a conscience, with morals. You've got to have a stopping point within you. There's got to be something within you that's like, hey, this is my peak. Like, there's got to be something in you that makes you not feel right when these things are happening. But which brings me to my next point, which is what type of people are these powerful people keeping around them? It seems like a lot of the times the people around them are kind of along for the ride because, like, hey, we're living good too. We're prospering off of this man and his power and his money too. So it's like we're just gonna turn a blind eye. We're just not gonna say anything. And I feel like it's out of fear and it's out of comfort because, like I said, they're prospering too. They're living a good life. And there's no one there to say, hey, let's take a step back. There's no one there to say, hey, bro, you shouldn't do that. Because these people that are in such power positions, and the things that we've heard about people like Diddy and how he can be behind closed doors when it's someone like that, I feel like a lot of people keep their mouths shut out of fear. Rightfully so, I get it. But at what point do you just remove yourself from the situation? Or, like I said, with a lot of the stories we've heard about Diddy, can you even remove yourself from the situation? Allegedly, he puts hits on people. Allegedly, he puts hits out on people. Allegedly, he's had people's cars blown up. Allegedly, he's had people killed. So, at what point do you say, "Hey, I got a dip," or do you just continue to live your life as safe as you can while turning a blind eye and staying out of the way, basically staying seen and yet not seen? So it seems like from an inner circle type of standpoint, the vibes kind of become, as long as the money is flowing, we're not going to ask questions, we're not going to rock the boat. And that's just how people end up in lawsuits years down the road. And now everything comes out and everybody knows what really happened, what really went down. For example, the people that are coming out that want to remain anonymous during the Diddy trial, and just people that have seen things. We've seen bodyguards speaking out, security guards speaking out about the things that they've seen and heard going on behind closed doors. So it's like now they've had all these people around them for so many years that they thought that they could trust out of the fear that they had for them in some cases. But it's like once the shoe drops or the ball drops, like everything just also comes down with it. And I feel like that seems to be what is going on in the Diddy trial. Like and we even see, like, with Diddy, he's still trying to intimidate people from while he's on trial. Like, he's in handcuffs and stuff, and it's like he's sitting there looking at jurors a certain way and mouthing things to people. It's like he still thinks he has, and I don't know, he still thinks he has so much of that power, even though he's locked up. At what point does his mentality come back down to, like, oh crap, you know what I mean? Like, he's still trying to run things a certain way because he is power trip. I feel like doesn't do any justice, but he's on a power trip on a whole nother level. And even though his world seems to be crashing down, he's still exercising his power in a certain way, and he doesn't care who sees it. It seems like. But while not everybody takes it that far and does it that way, because in my opinion, money and fame and all of that, that's not evil. Money, people say money is the root to all evil, but money itself is not evil. But because money comes with power, and like I said, you can have pretty much everything at your fingertips once you acquire a certain amount of it, that it can be the root to evil. It can open up a lot of evil doors. And it's the equivalent to a drug sometimes. Money and fame, it can be a problem if you don't have what I think is the proper moral grounding, the proper conscience. Then these types of things can be a problem if you don't know when to say no. If you don't know when to say enough is enough. It can be like a drug when millions of people are watching you and idolizing you, it does something to your brain in a way, especially once it gets to a certain level and you start to feel invincible, I would assume. That's when things start to spiral, I would think. And let's be honest, I feel like we get a little taste of that also, and not just when it comes to celebrities, but in our world, the regular people. And when you think about people who get positions of power like at work and things like that, and they just start to abuse it. Something that comes to mind right off the top is the prison experiment. The I think it was the Stanford prison experiment. I'll correct that if I'm wrong, where they took people off of the street and they signed up to do this experiment, and they had some that were inmates and some that were prison guards or correctional officers, but they were regular people. They were all just civilians, but they signed up for this experiment. But the people that became the guards, they basically went on a crazy power trip over the people that were the prisoners. So, like I said, that's just like a perfect example. And people that, like I said, get positions of power and start to abuse it and think that they let it go to their heads. Basically, we get a taste of that in our everyday lives, just amongst us who aren't having these like crazy celebrity parties and things like that. We get to see a little bit of it also if you've ever been in those types of situations. So a big part of it is about what power does to people. The more you have, the more it kind of reveals who you truly are or who you're becoming. So my question is, are these people, these celebrities, these people who have buku amounts of money and everything at their fingertips, are they addicted to power, or are they just broken in ways that money can't fix? Tell me what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever seen money or status change someone? What do you think about celebrities that go through the types of things like what we're seeing Diddy going through? What do you think about the Diddy trial? Let me know in the comments. So let's switch gears a little bit because not all of us are out here with private jets or private dungeons, but some of you might. I don't know your life. But let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about soft life versus hustle culture. Are we still working hard, or are we just trying to look unbothered? For those of us that aren't amongst the percent of people that have everything they want at their fingertips and we're still living normal lives for the most part, let's talk about this. I feel like a few years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, we'll say, I feel like it was all about having a side hustle. You had to have some sort of side hustle that you did alongside your regular day job, your regular 9 to 5. Like, you had to be hustling. It was that grind culture. It was that no sleep. I don't sleep. I'm always getting to the bag. I'm getting to the money. Everybody met. Like, it was that type of idea like a few years ago. And then once pandemic hit, they kind of it wasn't quite grind culture anymore, but it's like you still had to have a side hustle, or your side hustle became your main hustle. Everybody had a business once pandemic hit. Of course, a lot of people who had businesses before, they ended up becoming casualties of the pandemic. But during that time frame, I remember a lot of people started their businesses, whether it was boutiques or just pretty much anything. People had online boutiques, jewelry lines, clothing lines. That opened up a door for what I saw a lot online was people starting new businesses. I know people who started new businesses around that time. There were big businesses offering grants to people to start their small businesses around that time. So I feel like within the past 10 years, hustle culture has been so prevalent in one way or another. Until recently, we've seen more of the soft life aesthetic. We've all seen it: slow mornings, silk robes, a matcha or a latte in one hand, and not a care in the world. Don't get me wrong, I own a couple silk robes. I enjoy a latte. But my question is, are we really living the soft life? Or are we just making hustle look prettier on social media? Because we see people that are, in Bali on a random Tuesday. And I'm not hating, don't get me wrong, child. I would love it. I would love to just say, huh, I think I'm gonna go out of the country today on this Friday night. I'll be in Bali on Tuesday, and then I'll be in the Maldives next Friday. Like, I would absolutely love it. But the point that I'm trying to make is something has to be happening behind the scenes to make a soft life possible. So, like I said, is it that we're just seeing the benefits of hustle culture? Because what we see online is from people that have businesses. It's from people that they have to hustle at some point, or else how do you get the soft life? You don't just one day wake up and decide, huh, bills, who pays those? I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna live a soft life. No, you still have to take care of your responsibilities financially, and you have to do something to garner enough financially to have this soft life. So I feel like what it's turned into is we just don't see the hustle side of so many people online anymore. We just see the soft life. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think promoting so much of hustle culture can be a little unhealthy, especially the idea of like no sleep, don't stop, gotta grind, gotta get it. That can get to be a little unhealthy because at some point you do have to stop. But like I said, bills are real, life is real. Not everyone can just unplug and disappear into softness. We could probably do it from time to time, but for that to be our life in totality, I feel like that's going to take a lot of hard work. And I'm not saying the people that are displaying this and exemplifying this don't work hard. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what we mostly see from them is no stress and neutral tone loungewear, which I absolutely love. I'm a neutral tone girly, and loungewear is one of my favorite things. But I'm just saying people are putting more on display about the softness now, especially women in particular. And I love that. Not everything that we see about women and black women in particular has to be work hard, don't stop. But of course, work hard, don't stop to reach your dreams. Make sure you're doing what you need to do to reach your dreams. But I love the idea of thinking about black women just living in their softness. I just think a lot of people have to realize too that hard work still has to go behind achieving such a soft life. And with that, I'll be a little vulnerable. Recently, I had a conversation with my honey, and I was just like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I need a side hustle. I just feel like I need to be doing more. And that's kind of where this topic stems from because hustle culture never has really gone away. And I think it kind of put in a lot of people that, like, hey, if you're not doing 1,000 things, you're not doing enough. So I kind of had a moment where I was like, I could be doing so much more. I could be doing this. I could be doing that. And I'm the type of person that has like so many ideas. And I'm like, I could be working on this. I could be working on that. Why am I not doing it? I should do it. I'm not doing enough. When in actuality, I am doing enough. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to do more. But just know that you're doing enough. But back to the topic at hand, I love the soft life. I love seeing people display the soft life. I just always have that thought though. It's like, this can't just be life every single day. You've got to be working somehow. But I love that people are displaying the softer side of lives as opposed to the part of life where they're probably running ragged. Who knows? But I do love seeing the soft life being displayed so much, and I would love to live more of the soft life. Not that I have a hard life now, because I don't. But like I said, going to the Maldives on a random Thursday is goals. Basically said all that to say I don't think we've actually escaped hustle culture and having 1,000 things going on. That no sleep, don't stop the grind. I don't think we've escaped that culture. I think it's been rebranded into something cuter, something more palatable, something more aesthetic, more aesthetically pleasing. I think that's what it is. But more importantly, what does your version of the soft life look like? Not Instagrams, not TikToks. Let me know what you think is the soft life. For me, honestly, I think the soft life is more about intentional living. than it is aesthetics. I think it's about being able to say no when you need to say no, being able to protect your energy, resting without guilt. That's a great definition of the soft life to me. And I feel like that is a great way to slide into our final topic for tonight, which is doing what you need to do for yourself. Sometimes you have to do what makes you happy, no matter what other people think. And of course, I'm not talking about things that will harm others or yourself, but just doing the things that make you happy, the things that you enjoy, the things that help you to love yourself more. That's been a theme on my channel. We have to take care of ourselves, our hearts, our minds. We have to take care of ourselves. So I just want to remind you guys to make sure that you're doing the things that make you happy. Make sure that you're doing things that make you happy with yourself, that make you feel good about yourself. Sometimes you can't worry about what other people think about you, what other people see when they look at you. You have to be okay with you when you look in the mirror at yourself. So I really want to encourage you all to make sure that that's the case. Make sure that when you look into the mirror, you're happy with what you see physically, emotionally. Make sure that you're doing things to make yourself happy. It's so easy to let one little thing sends you into a spiral. It's so easy. Trust me, I've been there. So let's make sure we're being as strong as we can and reminding ourselves that how we feel about ourselves most of the time is what's important, and we have to hold on to that. If you look in the mirror and you're happy, like I said, you're happy with what you see physically, emotionally, spiritually, then be okay with that. Block out some of the outside noise because a lot of times that can bring you down. So remember, do what makes you happy sometimes. Have that moment to center yourself, talk to God, pray, talk about how you feel about yourself. And, just like I said, center yourself and talk to God and just make sure that you're happy with yourself because that means so much. I feel like it's one of those things that people say. I know I say all the time. I talk about self-care, but it's so important and it goes beyond just getting your nails or toes done or getting a facial. Self-care is so much your mental, and you have to protect your mental. You have to protect your mental. It's so important. So make sure you're happy with you. Make sure you're happy with your decisions, the things that you do. Make sure you're happy. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed tonight's episode, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.